Today's episode of Off the Timeline is titled The 2002 Season Nobody Was Supposed to Win. Texas thought they deserved a chance, as did Iowa, Virginia Tech, and Washington State. And somehow, the quarterback leading Washington State was Carson Palmer, not at USC or even Texas or Florida State, Washington State. To understand how college football got here, we have to go back to the strangest offseason the sport had ever seen. And that sets the table for the Great Dispersal. The 2002 season began with an empty throne. Four of college football's largest powers disappeared: USC, Ohio State, Miami, and Tennessee, gone. And when they vanished, they left behind the stars. Suddenly, the best players in America needed new homes. No player mattered more than Carson Palmer. The former USC quarterback instantly became the most sought-after player in college football. Texas wanted him, as did Georgia and Florida State. Most analysts assumed he would choose a traditional powerhouse. Instead, he shocked everyone and chose Washington State. The reaction was immediate. One columnist described the decision as trading Hollywood for wheat fields. Another called it career malpractice. A third simply wrote, "Why?" Mike Price had an answer. He promised Palmer complete control of the offense. At Washington State, Palmer wouldn't be joining somebody else's history, he'd be writing his own. The gamble would define the season. Elsewhere, Mike Doss landed at Iowa. Jonathan Vilma joined Virginia Tech. And Texas gets Kellen Winslow II. And suddenly, six contenders emerge: Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, Iowa, Virginia Tech, and Washington State. The race was on. And that sets the table for Palmer's bet. The season opened with one question: had Carson Palmer made a mistake? September quickly started answering it. No. Washington State's offense took off. Palmer threw touchdowns, the Cougars won games, the rankings climbed. And the same analysts who mocked the decision became increasingly uncomfortable. Week after week, Palmer looked brilliant. By late September, the question had changed. It wasn't, why did Palmer choose Washington State? It became, what if he was right? And that sets the table for the quiet giant. While Washington State generates headlines, Iowa generates victories. The Hawkeyes were not flashy or exciting, they were just relentless. Mike Doss transformed an already strong defense into one of the nation's best. Opponents routinely spent afternoons trying to solve Iowa. Most of them failed. The Hawkeyes kept winning and somehow remained overlooked. And that sets the table for the contender nobody saw coming. Georgia spent the first half of the season hiding in plain sight. No hype, no controversy, no headlines, just victories. The Bulldogs quietly assembled one of the strongest resumes in the country. By October, they were impossible to ignore. And that sets the table for the Red River. Every championship race eventually finds its defining moment. For 2002, it happened in Dallas, Texas versus Oklahoma. The winner would control the national title race. The loser would spend the rest of the season chasing it. The game delivered. Big plays, future NFL stars, momentum swings. Texas fought. Oklahoma answered. Texas rallied. Oklahoma answered again. Late in the fourth quarter, the Sooners finally separated, winning 31-24. Texas had lost, but they weren't finished. And that sets the table for the national argument. November brought chaos, not because teams kept losing, but because they kept winning. Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, Iowa, Virginia Tech, and Washington State just kept winning. Every Saturday made the debate worse. Sports talk radio shows became courtrooms. Everyone had evidence. Everyone had an argument. And nobody agreed. Texas argued strength of schedule. Iowa argued results. Virginia Tech argued defense, and Washington State argued Carson Palmer. And every fan base believed they were right. And that sets the table for the Hokie case. Virginia Tech became the strangest contender. They were 11-1. Their defense was elite, their resume was strong, yet every national conversation ended the same way. Great team, great defense, not sure. No one ever explained what that meant, but Virginia Tech heard it all season. And that sets the table for Palmer was right. By November, Carson Palmer's gamble looked brilliant. The quarterback everyone questioned had Washington State among the nation's elite. The same writers who mocked Pullman were now discussing title scenarios. The same analysts who laughed were now debating rankings. Palmer hadn't just succeeded, he had validated the decision. And then came the largest question of all: would it matter? And that sets the table for championship week. Everything came down to one final week. Texas, Iowa, Virginia Tech, and Washington State all finished with one loss, and Georgia finished atop the SEC. Then came Selection Day, the moment everybody feared. The rankings appeared, one by one. Number one, Oklahoma. The tension grew. Number two, Georgia. And just like that, the debate took off. Texas, Iowa, Virginia Tech, and Washington State were out. The title game was set, but the arguments were only beginning. And that sets the table for the championship. January, Oklahoma versus Georgia. The game delivered. Every possession mattered. Every mistake mattered. Every yard mattered. The teams traded touchdowns all night. Neither side blinked. Then late in the fourth quarter, one final drive changed everything. Touchdown Georgia, 24-20. One final chance remained for Oklahoma, but it wasn't enough. Georgia were the national champions. Most seasons ended with a champion. This one ended with a debate. Would Texas have won a rematch? Would Iowa have beaten either finalist? Could Virginia Tech's defense have carried them to a title? Could Carson Palmer have completed the most improbable journey in college football? Nobody knows. Nobody ever will. What we do know is this: for one season, the throne sat empty. 6 contenders raced toward it. Only one got there. And 5 fan bases spent the next 20 years wondering what might have been. And if you enjoyed this college football alternate history deep dive, hit like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next timeline.